It's Oiler Week and no Pro Bowlers? Come on, get out of here. Let's talk about it next on Titan Upload. This episode of Titan Upload is powered by BetUS. So surprise, surprise, the Pro Bowler list came out and there's 0 Titans on the list. Does it shock any of you? Leave a comment. Who is this on? You know, this offseason, we heard about all the different changes that Ran Carthon made to the roster, whether it be number 7th pick J.C. Latham to help shore up that offensive line, or the trade to bring in L'Jarius Sneed from the Chiefs and add a powerful cornerback to the mix of Awuzie and McCreary. So where did we go wrong? Why were our expectations so high? Why did we jump on the national media for saying we were so low? The 0 Pro Bowlers, let's be honest. Do I care? Absolutely not. But why should we care? It's because it's so easy to make the Pro Bowl nowadays. And the Titans can't even get one. Not one. Our best chance were 2 guys, Amani Hooker and Jaquan Jackson. And the ironic part about Jaquan Jackson, he got replaced weeks ago. Now, there are a couple alternates, right? Jeffrey Simmons, congratulations. He's an alternate. Tony Pollard, which I thought had a pretty good season before he got hurt. He's an alternate. And then our last guy is Stonehouse, which, to be honest, is quite an accomplishment, getting his leg ripped off last year against the Colts. So here we go. So according to Pro Football Focus, in ranking them across the NFL overall grades, this is what I came up with. Calvin Ridley, almost 1,000 yards. I think he'll get there this weekend against the Houston Texans. So Calvin Ridley, shout out to you. But you can see 44 out of 130 receivers was his overall rank. He deserved to be in the Pro Bowl? Probably not. Then we move on to Josh Whyle. Yeah, that's right, Josh Whyle, who doesn't have the snaps compared to a lot of these other starting tight ends. But rank-wise, he even outbeat Chig Okonkwo, which I think Chig's been playing pretty well as of late. I mean, Josh Whyle, I'll be one to take the L on this one. This was one of the hype trains that I was willing to buy when Will Levis said he was having an amazing offseason and training camp. Tony Pollard for me, because Derrick Henry obviously did make the Pro Bowl and looks fabulous this season for Baltimore, so shout out to him. Getting hurt here periodically, I still thought Tony Pollard had a pretty decent season. He did score the Titans' first touchdown, which we called here on the network. At the end of the day, probably not good enough to make the Pro Bowl. Now, defensively, I think we have an argument. Now, I'm not huge on Jeffrey Simmons. I think we pay him a lot of money and he should be better. He should be elite. I think he should be flirting, obviously, with All-Pro rather than just trying to be an alternate on the Pro Bowl. But he still did have a pretty good year, but you can see his overall rank 11 out of the defensive linemen. Devondre Sweat, for being a rookie, and some people were in and out on him, and would he be a 3-down guy? Would he only be 2? Was he drafted way too high for where he was? Was he overweight? Was he out of shape? I think we can all agree he's outdone expectations from the fan base. And honestly, he's right up there with Jeffrey Simmons, 13th overall, according to Pro Football Focus. Joseph Day actually had a better ranking, but because he's another defensive lineman, I think he ranked in the 20s out of 125. I decided to go and shift a little bit to Landry. Landry, I believe, does have 8 sacks. If he gets 2 sacks, he'll have double-digit sacks. Again, this is his second year coming off the ACL. Honestly, there were a lot of times the Tennessee Titans were in the backfield and they just couldn't bring down the quarterback. I don't know if that's coaching. I don't know if that's just players not doing what they're supposed to do. Overall rank, 35 out of 119. Does he deserve to be in the Pro Bowl? No, but that's kind of getting to my point. The Tennessee Titans don't have a lot of options to make the Pro Bowl. So there's really nothing more I can really go on other than the expectations that were not hit this season. The bottom of the bottom. We got a few players on this team. Whew. And it's kind of hard to actually take in. I'll be honest, as a Titans fan. Let's start with let Ran cook. Bringing in the trade from Kansas City, which Minnesota backed out apparently, which left the Titans for a 3rd round pick. In comes L'Jarius Sneed. Now, I'm actually shocked on this. I thought he performed okay. Not an all-pro level, not where he was with Kansas City. Thought he's a lot better than 117 and 117. I mean, his overall Pro Football Focus grade was like a 36.5. That's not good. And then he gets hurt, and then they shut him down for the rest of the season. I can't even tell you how many games he played. I could probably count them on one hand. This one, Harold from Michigan, the rookie, I think, for the 7th round pick. Zach Lyons, shame on you, buddy. I know you're coming on the channel soon with Titans Rossi. Definitely a shout out for you in 104.5 The Zone. But you said Harold was a hit, so you're going to have to explain yourself when you're on the channel. This doesn't warrant hit to me, but 119 out of 1. Hey, I finished in 119th place. Oh, that's great. How many people were involved? 119. So I think that one has to be questioned for sure. Then we move on to quarterback, Mayo guy, Will Levis. Yep, that's right. His 2nd year in the league. Some of you ignored his 1st year, although I thought he was pretty good last year for the Tennessee Titans. But this year, he's not hit on expectations. He's not been anywhere close. He's been replaced by Mason Rudolph. He's pumped up because he might get to play the Houston Texans backups. Now, some of you still think the backups are not going to play for Houston, but I think they might still. And Vegas still kind of agrees with us where they're calling it a pick'em. Speaking of that, shout out to our friends over at BetUS. That's right, 150% bonus on your first deposit when you use that promo code YouTube150, and 125% bonus on deposits 2 and 3, all up to $2K. So they're giving you one heck of a deal. Take advantage of it over at BetUS. The current spread, as we were talking about, is a pick'em. This was as high as 4.5 as a Titans favorite. Now it's down to a pick'em. But do they play their starters the whole game? That's the question. Nobody really knows at this point. So as of right now, it's just a pick'em. So shout out to our friends over at BetUS. Check out the description. Which Titans do you think should have made the Pro Bowl? Can you make a case for any of them? Honestly, other than Simmons and maybe Sweat, I can't think of not much I can really say about it. But if you feel like you can, definitely leave a comment and explain why your guy should have made the list. As far as the overall of what this means, many of you will gloss over it and be like, it's no big deal. I'm already hearing things on X about this really not that big of a deal. Doesn't change the way they view the team or where it's going or a coach or a GM. But I think you have to strongly consider this be a not so good thing for Ran Carthon going into his end of the year meeting with the owner. Because ultimately, if he doesn't beat the Texans this weekend, and when the Titans are wearing their Oiler uniforms, I know some of you think that, yeah, they're tanking and the owner's in on it. I just can't imagine a world where she's like, yeah, this is fine. Just go out and lose and we'll get a top 2 pick and I'll forgive everybody and we'll just run it back next year. I just can't imagine, because they kind of told her that this year when they said they have a top 10 pick and all this money to spend and a quarterback that maybe could be on the up in Will Levis. Not one thing came true. So again, heat of the discussion. I think this is kind of a bigger deal than some are thinking about when it comes to looking at the GM and the progression of the team. And then, oh yeah, you know my feelings about Brian Callahan. It will be quite interesting to see how this thing unfolds. 2025, we're off to a great start. Don't forget to tighten up that like button, hit that subscribe button. Shout out to our friends over at BetUS. Check them out in the description. Till next time, tighten up.